here's some more trivia for y'all. I was born in 1999, which means I am a 90s kid. And you know what was big in the 90s? Nickelodeon, Friends, Disney Renaissance, dinosaurs, fanny pack, Furbies, the internet, war, murder, death. Yeah, nothing has really changed when you think about it. But video games were very popular, especially the puzzle genre early on. Everybody wanted to get on the Tetris train, and this was Atari's ticket on board. Klax for the Turbografx 16. It may not be the 90s, but there's still time for it. Like I said, it's the 90s. Early 90s in fact, and the landscape of gaming was beginning to change. While Nintendo still dominated the market, Sega was beginning to be a big-time player, and the handheld scene was being revitalized for a whole new generation to play all types of games. One of the more popular genres of this time was the puzzle game, a simple concept that can rack a player's brain, and it seemed like every company had to have their own. Nintendo legally had Tetris and their very own Dr. Mario, Sega had Columns, and while Atari also had Tetris, it was only the arcade rights, so they went ahead and made a whole new puzzler. And that took the form of Klax. This game was originally released on June 4th, 1990, with this port coming out sometime around then, I assume? Maybe even later. Now this game not only came out during the puzzle craze, but also when Atari Tengen was releasing games on many platforms, which was a brave way to stick it to Nintendo and their harsh business practices at the time, and for also getting a better deal on Tetris. You know, Klax was proposed to be the follow-up of Tetris. If the Tetris company owned it now, you know what they called it? Klaxtris. That's some food for thought, and this is a game to play. It's about time I play something Turbografx related on Game Reviews, and this may be an interesting pick as you may not be familiar with this puzzle game, but you will be shortly, so let's take a better look at Klax. So one of the reasons why puzzle games were popular in the 90s was because they were so simple to pick up and play but difficult to master, and this is no different. This is how Klax works. When you begin, different colored tiles will flip towards you. Your job is to catch the tiles on what they call a paddle and place them in this 5x5 bin. It's amazing how Atari went from this to essentially this. From here, you have to eliminate the same colored tiles by getting 3 in a row, what the game calls a Klax, either horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. That's the basics, but that isn't necessarily the goal, for it changes after every wave. You may have to get a certain number of Klax to proceed, a specific number of Klax patterns, or get this amount of points, or survive this number of tiles. Klax is also the sound these tiles make, apparently. It's why the game is called such. Isn't that nice? I'm really trying. When you do the task that's being asked of you in one wave, you'll move on to the next while getting bonus points for how many tiles were left unused and how much space was left in the bin. The real points you get while playing through a wave, but you can't stick around too long for it'll get busy and hectic in a hurry, so you have to act and think fast. The tiles will come down the conveyor belt faster the more you stay on a wave. Bear in mind the paddle can only hold up to 5 tiles at a time, so you have to drop what you got and make peace with what you have before you find yourself in trouble. But there is more than one way to make a Klax, as the game will hint at as you go along. As a Klax doesn't have to be just 3 in a row, it can be 4 or more, hell you can even combine 2 Klaxes for bigger points. And the manual is kind enough to show examples of the many combos you can try and get, but you're more than likely going to get these by accident if you're not paying attention. I don't have the attention span past 4 seconds. When you beat every 5th wave, the scenery will change and the tasks will be a little more difficult to achieve, but you can alleviate the pressure with the introduction of the wild tile that flashes through all the available colors, and you can use it to get any potential klaxon. Oh jeez, okay, I should have known. That isn't plural for multiple Klax. I made that up. I'll say this is where it went downhill for me, as it got hard to keep up with the game's demands, and I probably didn't have the best strategy this far in. I tried to go for big points, which involve getting diagonal Klax, as those are worth the most, but with one wrong button press or bad placement of the paddle, I easily screwed up multiple times, which didn't do me any favors in the long run. If you're unable to catch a tile once it reaches the edge, it'll fall off with a digitized scream. I forgot to mention there's plenty of digitized voice samples, so you can't miss what you're supposed to do in a wave.
Horizontal, diagonal.
Anyway, you can only let a certain number of those drop depending on the mode you start with. Atari loved to have this option with their later arcade games. Tempest and Quantum come to mind, but if you let the designated number of tiles drop or fill the bin up to capacity, you'll lose a life. You can continue if you have enough credits, but once all your credits deplete, it'll be game over, and you'll get to see your high score and your average score per credit. And that's how Klax works. Well, it goes more than one way. It has multiple meanings, but you get what I mean. Ugh. Aneurysm. There really isn't any more to explain than that. It's as simple as puzzle games get, but this one has a little more complexity when you get far enough. There's 100 waves in the game, so it'll no doubt get tougher than what I reached, so you'll need to do some quick thinking and use that noggin more if you can get any farther. Still, the one thing I can't get my head wrapped around is why they thought this hand symbol was the best logo they can come up with. If you're wondering what it looks like past wave 10, it's exactly what you would expect. A clusterfuck in space. Next. I'll be honest, we were almost gonna skip this section as well, but then I had the weird feeling of pressing select on the title screen. Is this what finding an Easter egg feels like? It isn't much, but you've got plenty to mess around with, like the number of credits you can start with, settings to adjust, and sound effects to listen to. Repeatedly. You could definitely annoy someone with this. Brian, what the fuck? Stop that shit. Thank you. I couldn't tell you how well this port sold, but considering it was on the Turbografx, it probably didn't do as well as its other ports, and there were a lot of them. As I alluded to earlier, this game was ported to every fucking single console or computer imaginable or available at the time of its debut in arcades. I think the only exception was the Super Nintendo, but the grudge must have still been there. Tengen would continue as Atari's label until 1994 when it was consolidated into Time Warner Interactive. Atari, meanwhile, had a cat fetish they were into. I wonder how that worked for them. Over the years, Klax hasn't reappeared much on other platforms and has been primarily forgotten by the gaming masses. They remembered the classics like Tetris, Dr. Mario, Puyo Puyo, hell, some remember Columns, and many others that would come, but I can assure you hardly anyone remembers Klax. So, what is my rate to play? Many puzzle games have come and gone. A fortunate few have been able to stand the test of time, while many others are lost to obscurity. Klax happens to fall on the latter, but does it deserve to be? That'll be up for you to decide. I'm merely one voice and it can only go so far, and my opinion falls with the general consensus that it's really just average at best. It's an interesting concept that tries to separate itself from the pack, but it's also the same kind of concept you would see back in the day when the puzzle craze was at its peak. It is more thought-provoking, encouraging you to use that brain more as you progress, more than Tetris or Dr. Mario anyway, but there's a reason those games are still mega popular, as their concepts are straightforward from start to finish, while this gets just a little more complicated faster. It's still a simple puzzle game that you can take or leave. Personally, I think Intelligent Qube, which has similar gameplay, is a much better take as it has more going for it. Music for one thing. Imagine if Klax had IQ tunes. That would at least eliminate one issue I have. To conclude, I give this game a play rate of... should play. But that's only my opinion. If you have your own thoughts, leave a comment. If you like what you see, leave a like. If you think others would enjoy this, share it around the web. And if you want to see more, subscribe. Anyway, this has been BrianTheBlue Game Reviews, Klax, for the Turbografx. Brian here, want to quickly say thanks for watching this game review, as this and other content wouldn't be possible without you. I appreciate anyone and everyone who watches my videos from all across the world, but it alarms me that over 80% of viewers aren't subscribed to the channel. So I'd like to reiterate and ask you to subscribe as well as ringing the bell to stay notified. That way you can stay up to date with future content that'll appear on the Jacobians channel. Presently I put out new quick views and current calamities every month, and my brother Alex has a brand new show all about wrestling games called WrestleBound. You might want to stick around as we're only getting started. You can also find me on a couple of other channels. I run the Starfighters Arcade channel, where we take a look at the history of our machines on the floor as well as show you our new arrivals, and on Millennial X, where me, arcade buddies, and family get into shenanigans playing, hunting, and reviewing games. If you want to explore more content, these would be the first places to go. That's all the time I got, but be sure to click the icon now if you want to watch the previous or upcoming episodes of Game Reviews.